Find three consecutive positive integers such that the product of the first and the third is 29 more than the second. Okay, this time it's not just positive odd integers or positive even, it's just positive integers. So consecutive positive integers, what are they? Some examples are like 3, 4, 5, or 10, 11, 12, something like this, right? So the three numbers would be, if you say the first number is x, and then the next number would be x plus 1, and the third number would be x plus 2. Now, here's what often happens. Rather than trying to call the first number as x, if you have three consecutive integers, then it's often easier. It's often easier to calculate later if you call the middle number as x. Okay, so that the one before, the first number will be x minus 1, and then one after will be x plus 1. Especially if the sum is considered. When you add them, the negative 1 and plus 1 just cancels, so you get an easier equation to solve. Now for this question, actually you can do either one. There is no advantage in choosing this one, but since this is often the better choice, I'll use this one. Okay. Alright, so we chose the three numbers as x minus 1, x plus 1. Let's try to see what this is saying. The product of the first and the third. So this is the first and the third. If I multiply, that's what I have on one side. And there's the other one is second, which is second is x. Okay. So here we have a similar situation. We have one object and another object, and in between it says 29 more than. Okay, so it says the product is 29 more than the second. So to make them equal, since the product is more than second is less, to make them equal you need to add 29 over here. Okay, putting the 29 on the wrong side will give you the wrong answer. Alright, so let's continue on. If I multiply this, that's x squared minus 1 squared, because this is a difference of two squares formula. Remember, a minus b times a plus b equals a squared minus b squared, right? So using that, I have x squared minus 1 squared on the left side. I have x plus 29. And since this is a quadratic equation, you want to move everything to one side. So x squared, subtract x both sides to get negative x. And you have minus 1 and minus 29. Negative 1 minus 29, that's negative 30. So x squared minus x minus 30 equals to 0. And as you can see, it's negative 30. So we're thinking of two numbers that multiply to 30 and whose difference is negative 1. And I see that 5 times 6, right? 5 times 6 gives you 30, and 5 minus 6 gives you negative 1. So 5 times negative 6 would give you negative 30, and 5 plus negative 6 gives you negative 1. So this fits the description, and that tells us that the correct factor would be x plus 5, x minus 6 equal to 0, so that either x is negative 5 or x is 6. However, we see that it says positive, so because of this positive, this is a no-no, and therefore we get the middle number as 6. And when you have this answer, make sure that you know what it means. Our initial choice was x minus 1, x plus 1. So if this middle number is 6, then x minus would be 5, and the other x plus 1 will be 7. So the answer would be 5, 6, 7. Here's another one. Square of a number decreased by 3 times the number is 28. Okay, let's try to just set this number as x. Okay, then what's a square of a number? That's x squared. Okay, and it says decrease by 3. and decrease by 3 times the number. Okay, so square of a number is now decreased by 3 times the number. Okay, so what is 3 times the number? 3 times the number is 3 times x, because we called the number x, right? And decrease by means you're subtracting. If you decrease $100 by $10, that's $90, because 100 minus 10 equals to 90, right? So decrease by something means you subtract. And that has to be equal to 28. And x squared minus 3x minus 28 equal to 0. And I think 7 times 4 gives you 28. 4 minus 7 gives you negative 3. So that's the number that factors this. So x minus 7, x plus 4 factors it. And it says find all possible values. So it doesn't say positive, so this time both are answers. So x equal to 7 and x equals to negative 4. And so that's the answer. Since this question is just asking for the number itself, which is x, that's the answer.